everyone, we are live. Welcome to the weekly show of Classroom Without Walls, using technology to reimagine education. My name is I'm the host of this weekly Facebook live show. I created this show because I believe our society has changed a lot. Social media and technology play a huge role in our changing society. As educators, we need to change how we teach and how we interact with the next generation. Hey, Jim, thank you so much for being here. On this show, I interview and invite leading professionals and educators such as Dr. Jeremy Lipschulze, and to come join us live to discuss topics related to social media, technology, education, change, and innovation. If you are new to the show, thank you so much for being here. And if you are a returning attendee, you know how much I love you and how much I appreciate your support. If you are watching this on replay, future people, I know several people told me they are going to check out the replay. Thank you so much for watching this and checking us out. Today, I'm so honored to have Jeremy. Hey, Mark. Thank you so much. Mark is from the UK and Jim is from the US. And today I'm so honored to have Jeremy join us live. Hey, Deirdre, to discuss entrepreneurship and how we can teach the next generation of this topic. Jeremy is a distinguished educator, author, speaker, and innovator. He specializes in social media, law and ethics, and measurement. Jeremy was also a blogger for the Huffington Post for quite a few years from 2012 and January 2018. So Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us live and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Do you want to add anything to my brief introduction?
No, that was fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much. And hi to everyone who is joining us live. AJ is here. If you don't mind typing in the comment section where you are joining us from, that will be greatly appreciated because I love our global community and talking about the power of technology. This will be impossible a few years ago, but now look at everyone joining us from all over the globe. Thank you so much. So please share with us where you are joining us from.
Yeah, I love that we're doing this as global creative activity. I think of the internet pioneer Howard Rheingold, who spoke to my class a few years ago, and the video's on my YouTube channel, by the way, Jeremy HL58. But Howard, when he talks to students, emphasizes that it's important with the internet to be a creator, not just a consumer. And I think that's so true. And I think at the global level, it's exciting.
Yes, exactly. Be a creator. That is just so true. Like look at myself, being a content creator and bringing people together, using the content I'm producing to build a community. Thank you so much, Jim, Mark, Deirdre, AJ, and thank you so much for coming here. I know it is super late for quite a few of you. So thank you. We are just going to get started with our questions here. So Jeremy, you are super prolific author and a scholar in the field of social media, and you have been teaching for quite a few years. So I wonder if you can share with us how the digital media landscape is affecting what you do inside and outside the classroom within the past maybe a few decades.
Sure. It's impacted my academic and professional career for now over 3 decades. Almost 30 years ago, I came to the University of Nebraska at Omaha as a young tenure track assistant professor, finishing my dissertation at Southern Illinois University. And I'd come out of a background of broadcast journalism, primarily radio news in Illinois and Indiana. And, that was sort of why I was hired. because I had that professional background and the academic training in the School of Journalism. But as I was finishing my dissertation, something interesting was already happening. One of the things that was already happening was we were connected, actually pre-internet connected. There was something called the BitNet that we were connected to. We were not even on the internet when I first came to Omaha, but we were using the BitNet to communicate and to send files back and forth. I was sending data back to Carbondale, Illinois, because we didn't have the software in our mainframe computer to analyze it. And the researcher who had the software was at the University of Kentucky. And so, I became pretty comfortable with the idea of this interconnective community, this idea of online community, even really before people started to talk about the internet. And it was interesting because the BitNet had a feature that you could do a listing of everybody on your campus that was online at that time. And my recollection was there were about 42 of us on this campus of more than 16,000. Hey, how are you doing? And so it was a very small community, a lot of scientists, a lot of natural scientists in areas like physics and chemistry were early adopters of this technology. But I sort of instantly saw the potential, I think. And so as the internet came on board, I was teaching a public affairs journalism class and decided to use what was called the Gopher out of the University of Minnesota, which was internet technology, early text-based internet technology. You had to drill down through, no mouse, no graphical user interface, kind of go in and come back out. And we were sharing student news stories on the Gopher. And one day, a technology colleague from the administration building called me up, must have been the landline because I didn't have a cell phone yet, and said, hey, I want you to see something. And I went over to the Epley administration building, and he had one of the early Apple Macintosh laptops. These things were $5,000, $1994 laptops, kind of big, heavy things that had a little LCD screen and a roller ball. And he showed me the first web page that I'd ever seen. And It was just the simplest, text, URL link, no graphics. But I saw that it was much better than what we were using with the Gopher. And so, again, I became kind of an early adopter of that, began to learn HTML, and began to develop curriculum and research around the topic of what was happening with the web, which by about 1996 really began to take off as a consumer technology.
Yeah, that is so interesting. This brings me back to trace down memory line, the earlier times and how much technology has changed, and I was just entering a comment, our students, the young generation, they are born with technology, it is wrong. I feel like it is wrong to deny that part from their learning journey. Anyway, I just want to give a quick shout to Maria, who is joining us from Spain, and Zala, who is joining us from Slovenia. And thank you so much. And Shvo, thank you for listening in, and thank you so much for being here, everyone. And also, I pinned a Be Live link, which is the link that we use to go live. So if you want to join us live and ask a question in person, please click on the link and you will be joining us live and ask your question. I love it. So we can bring 2 additional people if you have questions. So please feel free and to use that feature. I pinned it, so you should see it in the comment section.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for responding to that. And I'm just going to keep going with my questions unless I have some questions from the audience. I
recognize some names in your audience. Hi, Gerald.
I love how active you are, Jeremy, not only inside the classroom, but outside the classroom. And you walk the talk. You know, you are a blogger, and I love how you do those like YouTube interviews and insert them in your blog. And I wonder how you think about this. You know, social media influencer Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about this. He argues that we cannot teach entrepreneurship to the next generation. And his argument, you just have to be in the field and to practice and to learn. So I wonder, what is your take on this? Do you think we can actually teach that to the next generation? And if so, how can we teach it? And what are some challenges that you have encountered in your teaching journey, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I've met Gary V a couple times. He's been here for an event we call Big
That's
Omaha,
so cool.
which is part of the Silicon Prairie, we call it. We have something called the Silicon Prairie News that originated here in Omaha and is now in Kansas City and Des Moines. And it's the idea that why does startup innovation and technology have to just happen in Silicon Valley? Why can't it happen all over the country? And, even in Chicago, where I've done some reporting on this for my blog with 1871 and other efforts there, there's some success stories already. But that all said, and I like a lot of what Gary says, but I would take issue on this point. I would counter, we have to teach entrepreneurship. We have no choice but to be entrepreneurs and innovators if we're going to succeed in 21st century media life. If you just follow the headlines of the past couple of weeks, as significant as the Chicago Tribune and the Denver Post, these once mighty newspapers are shedding their newsroom talent, a third at a time. And so the future is going to be quite different than what the past has been. When I started, I made reference to life here in the early 1990s. Our largest major in what was then the Department of Communication was what we called news editorial journalism, primarily placing students in newspaper jobs as reporters and editors and photographers. Those jobs are pretty hard to come by anymore. The second largest major was broadcast journalism, placing students in radio and television stations. Omaha, when I first arrived in 1989, there were 5 competing radio newsrooms in this market, mid-sized market. Now there's basically one radio station that has a fairly strong and active newsroom. The consolidation of radio stations happened in the 1980s and 1990s. And now I think you're also going to see disruption of that sort from local television because, we thought of our local television stations as the delivery truck, right? To deliver the network content to us. Well, what's happening? Netflix and streaming and all of these services now are making it possible for network companies to go directly to consumers with apps. And the streaming compression is so good that it works very well. And so, we were cable cutters, cord cutters about 6-7 years ago in our household, but we still, use Cox internet for our streaming services. So we pay for things like Netflix. We pay for things like MLB to watch baseball games, including now spring training and most of the season. And so it's a competitive, fragmented market, and all of that means that the jobs that existed 30 years ago don't really exist. So that's why we come to this issue of entrepreneurship, because what are our creative students going to do? They're going to have to think differently, and our faculty are going to have to think differently too, which goes to, I think, some of where you're going. So what happened at UNO is that we have a center for entrepreneurship and franchising out of the College of Business Administration. And they've been developing a group of entrepreneurship courses such as entrepreneurial foundations, entrepreneurship internship, new venture formations, and the like. And Dale Easley, who heads this center, came to a group of faculty across the university and said, would you be willing to develop an entrepreneurship course in your area so you could develop a minor in entrepreneurship so that students who maybe aren't going to major in this could also consider it as a minor. And the timing was really good for me because I had an old course that started way back when I first started teaching as commercial broadcasting. And I think this will show why innovation, why entrepreneurship. It was really just a how broadcasting works survey kind of a course. It later became a broadcast management course, which began to focus more on the management side, which I had been a news director at radio stations when I was in the industry. And we brought a lot of station managers into the classroom to talk about those issues. And then it later became an electronic media management course to incorporate what's happening with the internet, right? Well, that class had not been taught for a few years. I was director of the School of Communication for 9 years here. And we had some adjuncts to try to teach the class for a while. And then I came back to full-time teaching at the end of my directorship and decided that wouldn't it be cool to really develop this more from an innovation entrepreneurship perspective. So this kind of all came together. And we actually have a cohort group of faculty. We have a faculty member from women's studies, one from art, from the art school, one from political science, one from the psychology department who teaches leadership. And we've all come together and do these monthly, we used to call them teaching circle meetings, but we really talk about how we're developing the curriculum. And we basically have become this interdisciplinary faculty group outside of our home schools and departments, which I think is really cool because it doesn't happen enough yet. I mean, universities talk the talk about interdisciplinary work, but I find the walking the walk is less common. I was part of a group in collaboration science about 10 years ago. We have a Center for Collaboration Science, and we were trying to do some of the same work, but then those faculty left to go to other universities, and not much has happened on that front from the teaching side of things. It's more a research center now. And so this really gave another opportunity to try to launch some interdisciplinary work. And we really learn from each other because all of our fields are approaching entrepreneurship a little bit differently.
You mentioned so many great points. I just love everything mentioned. This is just so true, like so many people in education or like higher education or maybe even K-12 education in general. We talk too much, but not enough people are walking the talk. And I love this comment from Jerry, and thank you so much for joining us. And he said that, lifelong employment died a few years ago. I so agree. I think we all need to embrace that entrepreneurship. It's that this ongoing learning, self-directed learning, and there's almost no job security anymore. And that's how I feel. Like, look at us. We have been traveling all over the place. And since we came to Korea, I had a chance to interact with so many educators who have been traveling all over the globe to teach. That blow my mind away. It just shows me the possibilities. And when I hear those teachers talk, it is just amazing. They are almost like mini entrepreneurs engaging in self-directed learning, all those things. Fascinating.
I think one other aspect of entrepreneurship, as I started to think about this, was, maybe a student will want to start his or her own company, but probably not. I actually have one student in my class who already owns a company, and that's very cool. But even if a student doesn't decide they want to start a company, I think the principles of innovation and entrepreneurship have to be practiced because of what Jerry was talking about. If we don't bring that to our organizations, those organizations are going to become the next Toys R Us or Kmart or Sears, these dying businesses that didn't listen to what was happening to them.
Exactly. And speaking of which, I don't even remember, even when I was in the US, the last time that I actually visited a physical shop to actually purchase something. I don't even remember that time. Everything for me is Amazon. We are members at Amazon Prime, and it just has changed so much. And also, I love this comment from my friend Mark, who joined us live from UK. He was talking about how important it is to engage in collaborative learning and development. I agree. I think this is where technology comes in, right? Jeremy, you are in the US. Right now, I'm in Korea, and we have people from like all over the globe. And technology has brought us together to engage in this type of like co-creation of content.
Absolutely. And I think, it ties back into why would we have a class called Media Entrepreneurship, which is the one that I'm teaching for the first time this semester. And I think it's because if you drill down below it, and the book we ended up using, I ended up reviewing a whole lot of books, and actually have a book review that's just coming out in Journalism and Mass Communication Educator about the book I selected, Digital Media Innovation. And the reason I ended up selecting that was because I only have about 3 of my students with a business background. The rest are typical communication majors. And so we needed to talk about product and process innovation, as well as business model innovation, and really begin to get them to think in terms of, profit and loss statements, that kind of thing.
Yes. Totally. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm reading this. Thank you for joining us, Michael. You are never too late to join us. And Michael is doing something really cool, and he is a co-founder, or like he works in leadership positions at a super cool education / entrepreneur / cooperation company, where they help K-12 educators collaborate and partner with communities in the industry and different organizations to transform classrooms into businesses. So, which is super cool. And he asked this question. I saw that you are reading it. So his question is, does entrepreneurship emerge from the interaction between creativity, business, problem solving, and innovation? So if you don't mind answering that question, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think that's all important in this. One of the things that we're doing this semester is we've had a lot of guests into the class, some of them from the media sector, but a lot of them from other areas. The last guest we had is a doctor turned businesswoman turned startup turned entrepreneur in residence. And what we learn about is the need to, fail fast, as it's called, the need to try to test ideas out, the need to take some risks in your professional life. And I think all of that is important for students to hear, because, we can remember when we were finishing up undergraduate experiences, a lot of us didn't really know exactly which direction we want to go. And maybe that dust won't settle for 5 or more years in your career. And so I think students need to think creatively around their own career planning. And that's a conversation that doesn't happen enough also as they near commencement this May.
That's right. That is so right. I think, I was just looking at this comment from AJ, who's kind of talking about something similar. It's not just about like starting a business or running a business. It's actually your way of thinking, how you think, like discovering your values and what do you want to do in life. All those questions, the so-called like maybe soft, not so tangible aspect of learning and education, which we don't discuss hardly enough throughout like children's education journey.
Yeah, and I think for us as faculty members, it's important to begin to model behavior, to model that we're tapped into this world of ongoing change. You mentioned my progression from the first course I created was computer mediated communication in the 1990s to now social media courses, a course in measurement and management. That requires me to be doing surveillance on a daily basis of the changes in the environment, right? Because it changes, people are talking about what's going on now with Facebook and the disclosures about Cambridge Analytica. That's a game changer in terms of how people are going to articulate and think about data privacy going forward.
Absolutely.
And transparency of the folks who run these platforms. So what that leads me to do is, just this morning I was watching a webinar from Simply Measured. I probably look at one or two of those a week to see what the industry is doing in terms of best practices. And that, I do that. Why do I do that? Because I might learn something new that I didn't know. And so you have to kind of break out of this mode of professor as all knowing and move into a different view of, wow, I'm a lifelong learner. What can I learn today? I'd like to know something that I didn't know yesterday.
It's so spot on. I can't agree more with you. As educators, we need to be okay to say, hey, guys, I don't know this. I don't have an answer for this question. We are co-learning. I see teachers like myself more as facilitators. We are facilitating the flow of knowledge, conversations, so that we come together and we co-create knowledge. And so the students play a huge part in this. And exactly, like Mark said, we will keep learning until we die.
I learned about BeLive.tv today from you.
Exactly. I love this comment from Michael, and which is so spot on. He said that how that flow, traditionally people kindergarten and then elementary, primary, elementary, middle school, high school, and college, and go to work. And I love how he's saying that how this flow has been interrupted. I personally have interacted with so many high schoolers who are really innovative and entrepreneurs or trying out different types of businesses, and they are making an impact. And most of all, they see a direct correlation between what they learn in the classroom and what they are practicing in real life. And that is amazing. And
well, I think the university in the 21st century, we have to live in the real world that we live in. I saw the Washington Post story that the campus up in Wisconsin, administrators there had proposed eliminating the English and history departments and focusing only on departments that are job-centered. Now, I don't agree with that because I'm a strong proponent of the liberal arts, but we have to recognize that if we don't make what we do here relevant, there are political and economic pressures that we haven't seen before in our generation.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And as there are quite a few people who joined us late, as I mentioned earlier, I pinned the BeLive link to join us live. So if you are interested and if you feel comfortable in joining us live on camera and ask Jeremy a question or myself a question or engage in even more interactive interactions with our audience, please click on that link and join us live. We can have two people join us live together.
Yeah, let's make that happen. Let's innovate today.
This is almost like a mini classroom. I love it. Imagine we have students in this type of learning, Jeremy, right? And this is just super fun and super cool. And Elise Burden is here. I interviewed her a few weeks ago or months ago. She's amazing. She's a Forbes 30 under 30. Everyone follow her and check out Real World Scholars, a very innovative education model. So when we're talking about, go ahead.
Yeah, I've shifted my communication law and policy class to a primarily online class, and we use Zoom technology. And a few weeks ago, we did a panel discussion on trends in media law. And we had people like Greg Lisby at Georgia State University, Darrigan Silver at Denver. And so we had 3 panelists. It was like an AEJMC panel, only the students got to ask them questions. So they were getting to ask questions of the authors in Watt Hopkins Communication Law edited textbook. So the environment is very much like this, but it was very real time, and I think they got a lot out of it.
Oh, definitely. Interacting with someone live, you can get so much more than from reading a book or reading a paper. It's just a new level of interaction, and which is great. I think students definitely enjoy that. It's so much more engaging than sitting in a classroom and listening to one teacher talk for the entire 3 months. Yeah. So we were talking about digital disruption earlier, and I just noticed more and more of how technology is disrupting learning, or how learning has been disrupted by technology. For example, there are so many alternative learning platforms like Khan Academy a few years ago, and last year I discovered Mission U. I don't know how many of you in the audience know about this. Type in the comments and let me know if you have ever heard of Mission U, Mission University. So what they do is a 1-year tuition-free college, and for students to learn from cutting edge knowledge, and from leading industry professionals and top-tier Ivy League college professors. So that is one model. And recently, I discovered Mind Valley University, which is a kind of a hybrid combined like online learning and in-person learning, and which is also super cool. And so I wonder, and last year I read this really comprehensive report from the Pew Research Center, and they talked about the future of jobs. And one of the findings in the report is that alternative learning platforms are not only gaining popularity, but also credibility. So I want to ask you, Jeremy, do you think this trend is a threat to traditional 4-year college, or maybe an opportunity to push us to innovate? So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I view it as competition in the marketplace. And I don't see it so much as a threat, but I think it is an opportunity in the sense that we can learn by doing our own innovation. So I'm not worried about that, but I certainly wanted to inform what my practices are. That is, one of the things I'm concerned about is that we spend a lot of time teaching students face-to-face skills in the traditional classroom, but we also know that in the 21st century job, they're going to be working in teams, and some of these teams are going to be distributed across the world and having these kinds of conversations. So they've got to learn to be effective in this kind of environment as well. Hi, Jerry.
Hello. Hey, we have Jerry here. Jerry was my guest of honor last week. And thank you so much for coming and joining us live. This is so fun.
Well, Jeremy convinced me to join. So I wanted to make one observation, and that's lifetime employment has not existed for at least 15 years. And I think entrepreneurship has to be taught, because whether you're on your own, which many, many people are now, or working for a large company, you need that entrepreneurial mindset so you can innovate and do things differently and do things better. So in that sense, I believe entrepreneurship can be taught and should be taught.
Yeah, I agree entirely with that idea. And I think it's important to teach it, because unfortunately, I think K-12 education is getting better, but it's historically been the case that a lot of it, was memorization and really didn't teach students to use their creativity. So it's something you have to kind of recultivate. It's inside all of us, but it hasn't been practiced.
The two skills I always talk about are critical thinking and strategic thinking. That's what needs to be taught.
Yeah, and strategic thinking is something that we should get into, because, as I've gotten deeper into social media measurement and management, the whole social marketing perspective is all about strategy and all about planning goals and objectives and being very careful in what you do. And I think it does require critical thinking about the tools that we use, and also developing, upfront a strategy. But also, it doesn't mean that the plan is static. It means that we are innovators, and we're willing to go where the data take us.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And we were talking about this earlier, how we need to be like innovators and lifelong learners ourselves and walk the talk. So that I think there are certain things that we have to do and to prepare ourselves as educators so that we can kind of like lead and teach the next generation, like be a role model for them.
Exactly. So I'm going to depart because I have another call I have to go to, but it was a pleasure to see you both and join in the conversation.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. See you, Jerry.
Bye.
This is so cool. And this is so fun. And I love how like live audience can kind of shift and direct the direction of our conversation. This should be like learning, like engaging in conversations, as opposed to have a like predetermined agenda. So if anyone in the live audience wants to join us live, we are about to wrap up. Please click on the Be Live link I pinned in the comment section and join us live. And Michael, if you want to come on and talk about real world scholars and some of the amazing things that you guys are doing, please feel free to join us before we wrap up here.
We made it to 3, but we didn't get to the 4 people.
I know, 2 more people. Come on.
We need 2 people.
We are innovators here, and we need to lead the way. And this is like super great. So our next question is, you had been blogging, or you blogged for Huffington Post for quite a few years, Jeremy, from 2012 to January 2018. I don't know if it is because of their latest policy changes that you stopped blogging for them. But anyway, so you blogged for them for quite a few years. I wonder if you can share with us some like maybe top 3 tips in terms of writing for like really well established media outlets, just in case we have some audience join us live who are interested in becoming a blogger for some of those big media publications.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to be timely. It's important to bring an authenticity to your writing, and also to really own what you do. And so if you look at my blog posts there, a lot of it really started with kind of a Midwesterner's perspective, and talking about the world of and the changes around us, but trying to do it from not so much the East Coast or West Coast perspective that we get a lot of in media, but to give some voice to thought leaders and influencers out in the center of the country. And so I did a lot of that, not only kind of from Omaha, but in Chicago, where a lot of this startup activity was going on. But I also use this kind of technology. You mentioned the videos in the blog. So my approach was to record Skype interviews. So there's a little app that allows you to record your Skype interview, and then I would edit that down. Probably not as much as I needed to, but I'm not as good a video guy as I should be. I'm still working on that. But editing those down, and then making that kind of a substance of where the post would go. So a person who read the post, if they wanted to, could drill deeper into my YouTube channel, which is where I post all of those blog posts. I think it was kind of an interesting method, and I'll continue to do it on LinkedIn Pulse, where actually you'd have to go back to the early days of Huffington Post to get as good of data as we get from LinkedIn in terms of the transparency of the data available to us. And that's another aspect to it. I think you've got to have the data to know what your audience wants.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to give a quick shout out to Stacy, who joined us live. Thank you so much for being here, my dear. And look, Michael is with us. And hey, Michael, can you hear me or see me? Looks like he's frozen.
He might be a little frozen. Yeah. We're trying. We're pushing this technology to the edge here.
I know. I can see him, but can you guys hear Michael? Michael, can you talk? Can you move a little bit? I think he's frozen.
He's definitely frozen there, I think.
But like, yeah, you were talking about LinkedIn, and recently I went back, and since the beginning of this year, I started to become more active on LinkedIn. It's such a great platform, and like definitely gained lots of professional connections. And I repurpose my blog content to LinkedIn. Michael
Yeah, I start my class with personal branding, and we really focus on how students present themselves on LinkedIn, and then also I have them blog there if they haven't blogged there before, to see how you can leverage social networks within LinkedIn.
Yeah, looks like he's frozen again.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, Mike. Maybe you are bringing too much fire to the internet. I have no idea, but they are doing something really cool. And we had Elise Burden, who is the co-founder of Real World Scholars, a few months ago, and they were talking about how they help students collaborate with like communities and organizations to transform their classrooms into businesses. And I remember one example is that how they transformed a chemistry class into a soap making business. That is amazing. Yeah. Mike, if you want to try one more time, we are just going to wrap up here. And Jeremy, what is next for you? And like if there's anything we can help you and to promote and share with the public, so please let us know.
Sure. So my current research project is on social media measurement and management. So it's tied to the class that I'm teaching. I just put out last summer the second edition of social media communication, which is a kind of an overview textbook of the field of social media communication as it develops. And this book is a little more specific to the measurement and management challenges that we face in the social media space. And so if any of your audience members out there have case studies to share or data to share, drop me a note at jeremy.lipschultz@gmail.com. I'd love to have you as a contributor on the book. So I'm going to be working on that throughout the summer months to put that together. So that I know you've got a great group of influencers here, and maybe somebody has been a part of a neat case study that would be instructional for students.
That'd be great. I know I will be working on my mini Facebook Live case study. So definitely, I will also make sure to enter Jeremy's email in the comment section. So if you're interested and venture into academic publication, and this is great for you. So let's try this one more time, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Yes!
Hey!
All right, sorry, I was waving, I was moving. I certainly wasn't frozen on my end. But
I already introduced you like 3 times, so now it's your turn.
That's great. Yeah, well, thanks. I'm so glad to be able to jump on here. I joined a little bit late to the conversation at the beginning. But Jeremy, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, so I'm with an organization called Real World Scholars. We're based in the United States. We help classrooms start and run businesses. So from kindergarten to 12th grade, provide them with funding and technology and other kinds of resources to help them really infuse their curriculum, their class with entrepreneurship. So one of the things that we've been thinking about a lot is how do we do the best job we can at supporting educators. And so I would love for you to kind of just respond, if you could, to teacher training, to ongoing professional development. How do you see entrepreneurship playing a part in the way we support educators?
I think it's a great question. I think as an educator, when I first began to get involved with entrepreneurship, I was sort of swimming in this pool and not knowing where I was going. We did develop this group of faculty who were working, and the support of the Entrepreneurship Center in the Business College really helped, because we did an all-day workshop with a professor of entrepreneurship who came in for the day and allowed us to begin to develop our curriculum and how it might relate. Because I didn't really have a foundation in the field of entrepreneurship. I just knew my field and I wanted to bring entrepreneurship to it. So that's something that is a learning curve, I think, for academics getting involved in this. And then you bring up the other issues, which are resources, funding, support, those kinds of things. I think all of those are helpful. Anything that you can do to kind of provide motivation to move things along more quickly. The other thing that those kinds of partnerships provide is, as a faculty member, you can go back to your administrator, and as somebody like myself who was on the administrative side for 9 years, it lends credibility to the effort if the faculty member says, hey, it's not just me saying this, but other people think there's a value proposition here. And so I think an entity like yourself, if you can help echo that so that the faculty member can take that back sort of up the chain, things move more quickly. I think he maybe is frozen again, though.
I think so. So thank you so much for the response, Jeremy, and thank you so much for this great comment, Mark. And I think this is really the future of learning, how we are co-creating. Like, I love having you guys come here and ask questions. This, as you can see from my happy face, I'm just like dancing with excitement right now. But anyway, it has been way overdue for our designated time. And thank you so much. One parting piece of advice, Jeremy, and how can we discover more about you? Like social media handles. I know you shared your email and social media handles, if you can share with us.
Sure. I'm active every day on Twitter. So I am at Jeremy HL, and feel free to connect with me there. And mostly I share social media news and other technology news there. So if you're interested in that, but also email is a great way. You can find me on Facebook. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I like that a lot. So I'm on most of the platforms at some level. I'm not quite, I'm on Snapchat, but I'm not that active on Snapchat. So that's probably the least favorite place for me to be. But overall, I'm really open to cultivating collaborative projects, interdisciplinary projects, anything that you might be interested in. So now what I'm interested in. Feel free to drop me a note or give me a call.
Oh, I love how you said I'm active every day. Active online every day. We speak the same language. Everyone join us live here. We speak the same language. And anyway, thank you so much, Jeremy, for being such an amazing guest. We learned a lot, and I really enjoy our conversation with the live audience. And thank you guys for being here. Without you, this show will not exist. So thank you so much. You have no idea how much I appreciate you for spending 1 hour and come join me every single week. So thank you so much. And I hope you are doing great. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday, same time, same location. See you online and take care. Bye. Thank you, everyone.